off, man.
No, go ahead. No, this is important.
And maybe this would be part of my answer because so in my family, a big thing that affected me in my only childhood was that in very real ways, to me at least, I felt as if I had a burden of my existence being somewhat messianic. And what I mean by that is my family's really, really small to begin. And there had been a lot of loss in generations before me that took away the men in my family. And like my mom's dad was murdered when she was 4 years old. Then his brother died 6 months after that. So her grandmother lost both of her male children, lost her husband, all that, only had my mom. Then Zan gets born. It's like, okay, we got an heir. We have a man. Like they looked at me like I was the Messiah in some ways. And that burden of that was really tough throughout my whole life because we only have Zan to focus on, and all of his extended siblings and my great and grand aunts and all of that. They poured a lot of love into me, but also there was so much attention on me. And I've always felt an extreme amount of pressure. And then I get a first cousin, excuse me. It's 11 years later and it's a girl. So it's still not that same type of dynamic. Yeah. So the first grandson, the only grandson still to this day, and all of that stuff just, there was pressure. So to my child, whenever that happens, I would eventually, and if that child is an only child, so what we're presuming right now, I would certainly want to alleviate the burden and the pressure of being the only in any ways that I can. And some of that is the being alone. Yeah. Some of that is the just setting them up correctly so that taking care of me isn't required when I'm old and all of that, like in that same way,
Oh yeah,
but
that's big.
Encouraging, like we said, the values of partnership, encouraging them to go and get someone to help them when you realize early on. And I think my mom had always said that, like, look, it's only you. I want you to go and find a wife because it is only you need someone when these things. So she had really adult conversations with me early. Right. Yeah, it makes sense, right? They they recognize the constraints and the restrictions and like, this is where we're headed. So let me tell you what I want you to do. But
that's real.
That direct, I will try to mitigate the burden I place on them, I guess I'll say. And not that, and I perceive the burden to be real. I don't know if the family placed it, but I'll do everything I can to be like, hey, kid, in the future, you don't have to feel like you got to deliver us. You don't have to feel like all the attention. Like, yes, we pour into you. We love you, but do your thing. Right. It just, there's something there where it's like, well, I'm the only person everybody's focused on. I got to give everybody updates. It's just, you got to find a way to.
I felt that too.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think that was probably the best way to say it. Is that burden maybe burden might be too harsh, but that pressure to achieve, which we talked about.
It's a pressurized responsibility.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. Because I felt that, but for different reasons, right? Like, hey, your parents came to the States, had you in the States for you to succeed. It's incumbent upon you to be able to fulfill that goal. You know what I'm saying? And we talked about the role that achievement plays in our life and how it kind of grounds us and makes us feel like we are, doing what we need to be doing. Right. So I agree with that. I think that there's absolutely something there.
Imagine you got a field, you only plant one seed in the soil and that's the only soil to grow. I mean, that's the only foliage to sprout from it. Right.
You need that harvest, baby. You're right.
Yeah. So that's what it feels like, right? I'm the seed of everybody's promise that came before me. And I wish they spread a little more in that soil because it's got to grow from me. I've got to create a harvest.
That's right.
And, we thank God for good soil from the families that came before us.
Now, see, that's your son.
That's good.